Hello again, this is Pastor Chris Litton from Christus Victor Lutheran Church. Our gospel reading for this past Sunday, December 10th, came from the Gospel of Mark, the very first chapter. And it began in verse 1, the beginning of the good news of Jesus Christ, the Son of God, as it is written in the prophet Isaiah, "See, I am sending my messenger ahead of you, who will prepare your way, the voice of one crying out in the wilderness, prepare the way of the Lord, make his paths straight." And I proceeded to tell my congregation, to ask my congregation, have you ever been to the wilderness? I've never been there physically in Israel, but I've heard it's a rocky area. There's no vacation spots. It's just hilly. It's easy to get lost. There's really not a lot going on there. But I'm not necessarily talking about that particular wilderness. Have you ever been in the wilderness? Have you ever been in the wilderness about career paths to choose, jobs, places to live? Where will your next meal come from? What will your next career be? What is God calling you to do in the world? That can be a wilderness. And so I ask, are we in a wilderness time? And during this Advent season, I would venture to say, yes, we are in a wilderness time. Everything that we thought we could count on in the secular world is now up for grabs. Everything is being questioned. Are you on this side? Are you on that side? Are you for us? Are you against us? Do you believe? Do you not believe? Who do you believe? What's fake? What's real? Everything seems to be being called into question, even our faith. Most recently, I saw on some news websites that an atheist group put up a billboard that says, yeah, the book of the Bible, it's all fake news. So everything is being labeled fake this, fake that. Do we believe? Do we not believe? We are in a wilderness time. We're being forced to ask ourselves lots of questions. And now, especially with the most recent events that are going on in this world, we have women who are being victimized, but it's not only women. It's people of other races, colors, creeds, orientations, all of these things. When things happen, when situations happen, do you believe this one? Well, then we start asking these questions. It can cause us to be in the wilderness. And we're at this time of Advent, this time of preparation, this time of getting ready for the birth of Jesus. Christmas. Christmas is not necessarily about the hustle and bustle and the shopping. It's not about that at all. It's about the birth of God's only Son, Jesus Christ, the light of the world coming into the world. And when I talk about all these things that are being called into question, I'm not saying one person's answer is right and the other's wrong. But what I'm saying is that with this light, a lot of things, the light that's coming into the world, a lot of the things that we thought had been settled months, years, decades ago were never settled. They were just pushed into a dark corner, never to be discussed again. And so during this time where we prepare for Christmas, the light of the world is coming. And that means that all those things that were pushed off into the darkness are coming to the light. And that means we're going to have some really serious and difficult conversations. We may not always agree, but we have to have these conversations, and maybe we have to have some compromise in our views, some understandings, but there has to be discussion. Because this light of the world that's coming, this Christmas that is coming, this birth of Christ, will cause us to have discussions, because Jesus didn't come into the world just to sit back on the lawn chair and watch the world go by. The reason we celebrate this season is that Jesus is coming into the world to begin these discussions. You see, we need Jesus in our world to give us the opportunity to have the discussions, to learn from each other, to walk with each other, even despite our differences, to love our neighbors as ourselves and come to a mutual understanding. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be. Jesus doesn't wave his hand over the world with this birth and say, okay, all things are better now. In fact, Jesus comes into the world to show us that the work of discipleship is going to be hard. The only way that we can get out of this wilderness, Jesus shows us, is by being in community with one another, talking and having the difficult conversations. Because Jesus so loved the world that he came into the world. God sent him into the world to be God with us and God among us, so that we can have these conversations. So that we can, at the outset of the difficulty of the conversations, agree that Jesus Christ is the Son of God, and Jesus brings a message of love and grace and mercy and, yes, forgiveness, so that we can work together and be a community together, not to be separate and apart. So the work that we have ahead of us in this world is not going to be easy, but it's not impossible. And so with this gospel reading, Mark goes right into it, but Mark does not cut to any chases. There's no lineage story. There's no birth. In Mark, Jesus gets right to work. And so we're not going to have a time to just sit around and watch the grass grow. In Mark's gospel, Jesus calls us to get to work, to start working together. Don't waste any time because it might be too late. But with God, all things are possible. And I hope and pray that in the days to come, in the weeks to come, we start having those conversations. And if you would like to have a conversation with me, by all means, contact me at the church, ChristusVictorOnline.org, or you can contact me in my email, pastor@ChristusVictorOnline.org. I would love to start the conversation. I welcome the conversation. And I wish you peace and blessings